Hello, this is Curt Pringle, and thank you for listening in on our Talking Issues series. You know, we've been doing these videos, podcast discussions for the last year or two, actually, now, and have had a lot of fascinating folks. But probably no one will be more interesting to listen to than the guest I have today, a pal of mine that I came to know about 30 years ago, a tech executive in Orange County, and now has gone so much further than that. And he's such a deep thinker. He talks about the future like he is living it at this moment. So would you join me in welcoming my friend Safi Qureshey?
Glad to be here, Curt.
Glad you're here. You know, I thought it was way back in the late 80s, early 90s that we first met. And you were one of those highlights, those individuals in Orange County that was a CEO of a Fortune 500 company and really set the mark for technology in Orange County. And you have done so much more beyond that. So I don't want that to be the foundation of the discussion, but I certainly want it to be the foundation of how people get to know you a little bit through this little podcast. So you came to America and from Pakistan for education.
For education. So when I was 7 or 8 or 9 years old, I was looking at a ceiling fan. That's all we had. There was no AC. So looking at the ceiling fan, I said, if I could put 4 of those things on a car, I would have an electric car. Of course, I had no ideas about batteries. And you used to have this little knob to turn the fan faster. So that would be the speed control.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be an electrical engineer since I was 8 or 9. And I was a flaky student. 1 year I'll do very well, next year. So I could not get into engineering.
I want to be consistent, so I was a flaky student all the way through.
So I could not get into electrical engineering in Pakistan.
Oh.
So I started applying in different places, Canada, US. I had nobody in the US. And I got 3 different admissions, one at McGill, one in Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo. Oklahoma State, I had a high school buddy who was there. So my plan was to get my electrical engineering degree and go back because I had no family, nothing.
Wow. And where in Pakistan was your family from?
So I was born in Karachi, but then the capital was moved to Islamabad. And my father and mother came from what is today India. But my father was in the Foreign Service, and President Musharraf's father and my father worked together for 40 years. And my mother knew his mother before they were either married. So I've been just very lucky to have a chance to learn from their roots and what can we learn.
So this young guy from Pakistan in Oklahoma for electrical engineering.
But then they started raising out-of-state tuition fee. And my father sold the most important asset my family had in life, was a car. He sold the car to send me here for 1 year it was $5,000 back then.
Wow.
And when Oklahoma was debating increasing the out-of-state, I said, damn it, I will not have money. Texas, I'm grateful for Texas forever because Texas had a 3-tier program. Resident students were almost free. Out-of-state, like California, had $40 an hour. They're the same. But for international students, they had a mid-tier.
Oh.
So we moved I was trying to go to Austin at a 6-month wait. UT Arlington, they said, come on down, show us your grade. And I never left Arlington, between Dallas and Fort Worth.
Wow, that's great. So was that still electrical engineering, computer sciences?
Electrical engineering.
So when did the computer science
really started taking off in the 70s. So, and we started realizing that software is such a key value. And I've learned a lot about software. So if you look at very successful software guys, they're also into music. So that's a very creative process, just like a Bach or any of these musicians. You leave a good software guy alone and they can come up with amazing things. So I just feel extremely blessed that I was Texas, I'm forever grateful to. But the more important thing is I met my current wife in Texas. So if I had gone somewhere else, maybe I would have been married somewhere else. Who knows what?
Yeah. No, exactly. That we're put in places for a reason. So yeah. I'm glad I went to the Garden Grove United Methodist Church. That's where I met my wife. So
congratulations.
That's the way that works. Over 40 years ago. Make sure we put it in context.
Me too. More than 40 years.
Yes, exactly. Round up.
Yes.
So so you met your wife, but also you met future business partners there?
No. So when I graduated in mid-70s, no experience, no green card. How do you find your first job?
Yeah.
That's always the challenge. So I had a beat up Volkswagen, not a beat up at that time.
Yeah.
We loaded it and started driving west
Yeah.
till we could drive no more. Ended up in Los Angeles. Like Frank Lloyd Wright said years ago, anything loose around the world, shake it, they will end up in Los Angeles. I ended up in this area. Because over here was more energy, more electrical, more thing going on. And I think my first job was with this computer, General Automation right here in Anaheim, very
Okay.
close to Disneyland.
Right.
As a technician, I could just find till I could find an engineering job.
Autonetics, is that?
No, General Automation was started by a gentleman right here in Anaheim.
Yes.
Now, most of the engineers who were starting new companies in California, guess where? They were part of the space industry.
Right.
So after we landed on the moon, there were huge cutbacks. So to me, the thing is that if you've trained a human mind with some skills and I get laid off, I'm going to create something new.
Right.
So many of the startups in Orange County, in Silicon Valley, came out as the defense space program got cut. All these strange engineers. So I'm always grateful that my first job was created by somebody. I have no right as a college degree. Nobody owes me a job.
Right.
So when I met my partners who were here, and they were from Hong Kong, we had nothing in common except we were engineers.
Yeah.
None of us went to Stanford or MIT or Berkeley. We were local graduates, UT Arlington graduates, but together as a team,
Right.
we knew what was a good product.
And I know you focus on team as the path to success. So your startup was manufacturing computers and moving forward with a competitive, lower cost product that when everybody else is starting to buy a computer.
Actually, we started making aftermarket products
Aftermarket.
because we had no money. I was married with one child. I was the first one to quit my job. We had 400 square feet in Sky Park Circle, and my partners were more senior. So I quit the job first. We got a consulting this thing. So to me, I call consulting business as one of the oldest profession,
Yes.
other than prostitution, where you get paid by the hour. So we had no money. So we started consulting. But then IBM announced their PC in August of 1981.
Right.
And my partner, Tom Yuan, passed away 2 years. He came and said, oh, here's a new. So we said, okay, here is a new opportunity created by a big company. So big companies always create opportunities, trends.
Right.
And the little one can jump on it. So what can we do for this thing? We said, we can make products for IBM PC to make it more powerful.
Yeah.
So,
Like what? Back then. I
Plug-in
mean,
card.
so-
So to me, IBM had certain offerings. So we came up with 6-Pack Plus, the best-selling product, which had memory, time clock, printing, spooling. So we looked at, so if you look at a brand new Honda, I can make aftermarket tires, wheels to give it more boost.
Right.
That was our beginning.
Right. And I mean that for some of us, remember as time started where computers, in-home computers and things like that started to become realistic, that, you know, IBM stepping out there and then seeing what happens from that point was
So
pretty
IBM
spectacular.
expected to sell only 250,000 computers. Now, before IBM, there was Apple, there was all the guys, but only a big company can create
Yeah.
a momentum.
Yeah, so tell me if this was right. So I was told in the past that Apple was very protective of their infrastructure and their system. Therefore, very few things added to it, where IBM became open and other people could bring in products and replicate those systems much more frequently.
I think that is not a complete story. So Apple, like there was a whole bunch of guys was focusing on schools with Apple IIe, tiny little computer.
I see.
But IBM's innovation was openness, but IBM relied on Microsoft. So you hear the
Right.
stories about Bill Gates and everything. The DOS, the operating system, they did not have it. He had basic language. He got it from another company in Seattle and offered it to IBM.
I see.
So if you look under the hood, there's always a superficial thing about. I never get a chance to meet Steve Jobs. I know Gates, but I know all the other CEOs of Apple. And Apple's success and struggles is we can learn a lot from this thing.
Right. So as you're working with your two partners, creating product components for IBM, when did you start making your own computers?
in 86.
86.
And by that time, we were already public. We went public in
Oh, is that right?
1984.
Wow. Okay.
And
As AST Computer.
AST Computer went public. And I jokingly tell people that I was the first brown guy on Wall Street with a funny name, with a funny accent, with a funny religion. But Wall Street is very structured. If you know what you're doing,
Yes.
and they can figure out how to make money on you, they will get behind you.
Right.
So I
And
learned
they
a lot.
did.
They did.
Right.
And another thing I learned, Curt, which is kind of subtle, is that my partners were very capable, but they grew up under British Hong Kong.
Mm.
So people could impress you. I grew up in Pakistan, which in 1947, a brand new country. It was very much like Israel.
Mm.
So I could deal with the brightest guy in Wall Street. I didn't go to Stanford or anything, but if I knew my stuff,
Yes.
they could not. So I could stand up
Yeah.
to the Wall Street guys. So I became Mr. Outside for selling and these things. Albert was a great engineering guy, and Tom was an amazing marketing guy, but he had a kidney dialysis need. So within like a partnership, we figure out the roles.
Yes.
We always keep each other a partner. We never call it. And how I got to be president, we pulled out the name. I got lucky.
So the AST is Albert, Safi, and Tom.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever told you this, but I had an AST. Actually, I had a couple AST computers. And don't be mad at me for this. The reason we bought them is they were cheaper. That there's a product I couldn't afford certain things. So I know I had one for my home, and then into Pringle's Draperies, I bought a couple AST computers for Pringle's Draperies too. So those were our early company computers.
And I think really the lesson, Curt, is really that the large companies provide us the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I have a lot of respect for Tesla and Elon Musk. I've met him in time because he created this momentum.
Right.
Otherwise, sometimes GM and Ford, they always have reasons not to do much.
Yeah.
So IBM started that, and we could fly all under that.
So is that one of those lessons you would give to other folks when they're thinking about where to go in their startup path and creating ideas and how to maybe draft under some of the bigger companies and bigger ideas?
So Curt, I will kind of expand that. Big companies, GE, IBM, any big organization, I tell young people, you go spend just a few years. Don't make that a career.
Yeah.
Because you will learn tools and everything. The college gave you this basic. To me, college is how to find the truth, how to find your way.
Mm-hmm. We hope it's that.
That's the hope.
Yes.
But then you go in the real world and you see the challenges at any big company, Shell, IBM, City of LA, you learn this thing. Right now, I'm talking to a lady as a potential staff person, and without mentioning them, she spent 4 years at City of Irvine, graduate of Long Beach. And I'm talking, I said, why did you leave City of Irvine? She says, Safi, there was no work. I was tired. And she quit. Otherwise, if you spend more than 5 years at Irvine, then you never leave. The golden handcuff, the benefits. So I encourage young people to try a couple of things, but important, keep looking for people that you're compatible with, chemistry-wise, values-wise.
Yeah, but that is one of your themes, right? The successes of the team.
Success is the team. Life is the team sports.
Right.
And the second analogy I came up in the life, because right now we have a team in Philippines, I call them, we are playing a relay race. At the relay, I pass on the baton, and then at night here and morning in Philippines, they're working. By the time I wake up, so we have a team member in London.
Wow.
So life is a team sport. It's a relay race. And I use golf's analogy. I do not know if you play golf or not.
Not public, no.
So I use golf analogy that if you have a good caddy, he gets everything ready. And then Tiger Woods or Phil Mickelson can come and hit it. So if I have all the information, I'm so curious. If you get me the information, I can make a decision.
Right.
Then always challenge. So this Navy veteran kid who was part of my team, I says, JW, keep asking me why I did. Because we are not taking care of our veterans as well as 29 veterans are killing themselves every day. Suicide.
Wow.
It is a tragedy for the biggest country in the world.
Isn't that something? And I mean, part of, I know you well, and I know you're an Orange Countian and someone very proud of this county and the opportunities in this county. And what do you see for the future of Orange County?
I'm just going to do a little thing. I never use the word proud. I use the word pleased.
Okay.
I'm grateful.
All right.
God has been so kind to me. Orange County has been so good to me. So I'm very excited about these 3 million people. I brought these magazines and amazing things that are happening right under our nose.
Right. Trying to give Rick Reef a plug
Yes,
with
yes,
the
yes.
Orange County Business
Rick
Journal.
Reeves
He doesn't need that. No, he doesn't need
and Richard Reisman.
it. That's what I meant. Richard Reisman.
Yeah. So this I read this thing to know there is so much happening right in this county. From when I came here, it was primarily real estate and Disneyland.
Yes.
And now
Well,
we have evolved.
and Rockwell.
Rockwell was there.
Rockwell was the largest employer in
Back then, yeah, Rockwell
Orange
Collins, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Oh, that's good. So you are pleased with who Orange County is today, but
And where the future is.
yes,
And I'm grateful to people like Jack Pelterson. There was amazing mentors.
right.
Bruce Stump.
The original Jack Peltson, the original chancellor of UCI,
And Curt, I tell my family and my friends that these were Americans who had a big heart. They never judged me for my color, they were assisting. And I learned they were my mentors. And I'm grateful to them. And I want to create an environment for everybody is welcome.
Right.
And we can create a better community. So much happening in medical and everything right here. It's exciting.
Yeah, no. So point to that. I mean, if you were someone that said, where is the future of Orange County and technology and ideas? Where would you, with
So
your
to me,
perspective?
with the transition that we're trying, you talked about water earlier as you and I were catching up. To me, water is a critical thing. And Americans use twice as much water as Australians. Now, people say Australians stink a lot. I do not know. But I have been using waterless urinals in my facility whenever you visit, or when Zisha visit, because to me, these are interesting. So we can innovate in very small things.
Right.
And my kids laughed at me. What the hell are you doing with this waterless urinal? I told them they can get into that business because America, we would be valuing water more and more.
Right. Right.
So Orange County is unique. How about you use sanitation district is unique. So we are doing a lot of innovative things just in water.
Right.
So my vision for Orange County and Southern California, we can be the new energy transition hub, like we were in space, like we were in defense 50 years ago, 60 years ago.
Right. But a lot of what your current focus is on energy and energy production and efficiency of use of the power we get.
Absolutely. So that is kind of exciting. So we are developing new product, but I really want to be the biggest incubator to encourage developers from Australia, Brazil, saying, hey, we know how to commercialize. So the strength, if you look at American business, is commercialization. So ideas a dime a dozen. So a lot of bright people I meet, I've got an idea. I said, that is just the start. That is even less.
Right.
What would be your team? Who would be selling it? How would you manufacture it? So understanding. So American technology companies are amazing in commercialization.
Right.
A lot of good ideas are being developed in Israel, but commercialization. So your former colleague, Ed Royce, congressman, he introduced to this company that came from, I think, New Zealand. They're doing space work. So we are becoming a space hub. I love this.
Yeah.
I've been to SpaceX.
Uh-huh.
And Virgin Atlantic. So to me, I want us to be where the future is.
Right.
And we have the educational system, we have the open environment.
Healthcare.
Healthcare.
Expansion of the healthcare in Orange County.
But I look at California as a state of mind. It's just a physical place.
Yeah.
So when AST was young, people didn't know, right? I said, we are 20 minutes from Disneyland, so I wanted to leverage Disneyland.
Yes, exactly.
And of the 50 states, what I love about America is that we have 50 states to experiment new things. And I believe experimentation should happen at a private level, not at the government level. So the church, we should be creating new education model. How do we treat the prisoners coming out of the jail? How do we integrate them? So there are many social issues. I want us to be experimenting in the private sector, and the civil society.
And what are we doing right now?
Absolutely.
What are we doing right now? What are we doing correct now? What are some of the exciting things you see in education or healthcare in Orange County?
So to me, I've not spent as much time at charter school. I want people, but I have a new team member in Philippines. she and her husband doing homeschooling. I said, I respect that
Yeah.
because they did not see, even in Philippines. So when people are homeschooling, I have a lot of respect for them because they want, because to me, the biggest responsibility we can have as parents is bringing this child in.
Mm-hmm.
We have the greatest responsibility for that human being who did not have a choice. We had it, we brought him in. And I look at it, first 19 years, your family, your community tries to give you the best. Then you spend rest of your life finding yourself. And I use the example of jet plane. When jet plane leaves Los Angeles, fully loaded, it's loaded with fuel, just like we are at 19. Then as you burn fuel, you go up high and you look at a higher view of the world. You unload some of the stuff that my community told me for cultural reason. So you are unloading the baggage that doesn't need anymore. And you learn new values.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I think that part of one of our strengths, though, is to test these traditional systems. You know, the traditional way education, when I went through public schools and all, it was great. I got a good education. I'm very happy that I did in Garden Grove, and I went to Long Beach State as well. But I don't think right now we'd be doing justice if we just said that will be the forever educational path for people. What are some of those other options? And
I think
candidly,
online education,
right,
there's amazing tools available on online,
right,
and I want to learn from them. So I do not know if your colleagues have heard of this guy, this young author called John Green.
yeah, I haven't. You know, if you spend any time with Safi Qureshey, you'll know that he reads so many books. So I get the full download on everything he has read in the last year or two. So I appreciate learning this because you are much more of a reader than I am. So please tell me.
So these guys, John Green, I did not know until I read the Free Economics Founders podcast.
Yes.
Stephen, professor.
Right.
And
Now I have read those books, the
yeah,
Free Economics
yeah.
books.
So John Green is in his 40s. He was graduate in Chicago area, wanted to go to the divinity school, spent 6 months in the children's hospital. Then he was in Beijing. He wrote a book in 2014 called Some Things Faults in Our Stars. Became a bestseller. It supposedly is a movie. This book he has written, I read it in Japan, I was there, about childhood cancer and these kids dealing with cancer. Beautiful book. You cry sometime reading it. So his focus, but what I did not know about this guy, I did not know he started a blog with his brother Hank and John called Crash Course. So on YouTube, they have 33 million following about education, about AI. So I believe that the education is the biggest business in the world and it needs to evolve and we need to model. But I go back to how we look at teachers.
Right.
So so how do we put at an older age in an uncomfortable zone? So when we become old, we want to stay in the domain. I want to stay in my bubble. I'm a best lawyer. I'm a best accountant. Right now, I'm taking piano lessons, voice lessons, dance lessons. I get humbled. So for my growth, I believe that I have to put myself where somebody says, what kind of thing is this? We become arrogant, especially men. We remain in one dimension. We don't want to get off the horse till the horse is dead or we are dead.
Yeah.
So exploring its online education is a very powerful.
But part of this, I think you shared with me this many years ago of your interest in getting professionals to leave those traditional jobs and getting in education and be able to bring some of those values and interests to younger generations.
I value that, but that's the way our history of politics was. If you look at a political leader, so to me, I would love in the state level, because it's so easy to badmouth politicians as opposed to support them. And if you look at all our founders and everything, and the best thing that George Washington did was leave the office after 2 terms.
Yeah.
That was the best example.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because he could have had longer.
Yeah, you could have stayed there forever.
Right.
He could have become like a British king.
Right. Exactly.
And there was temptation and there were people asking him. But when you visit his home and everything, and you read his history and you read about Hamilton. So I love Hamilton because he was the immigrant. And this country should be grateful for the kind of things he did for in the business side and industry side. Otherwise, George Jefferson was happy being a farmer,
right,
selling tobacco to the British.
Yeah. So you talk about education and how it's changed. You know, I was a big believer in online education until I really saw through the pandemic that forcing that was not a good thing, particularly to younger kids. And thinking about your history with AST, boy, we had a program in Anaheim where we provided laptops to a lot of high school sophomores to help them through their last couple of years, free of charge with wireless connectivity. But to see how many kids were not connected to the internet just a few years before the pandemic occurred, then you see the pandemic forced all of these kids to get all their education online. That was really I think a harmful action that took place during the pandemic time.
So my curiosity to you is I learned a lot during the pandemic, and those lessons are still, I saw my fellow Americans, 90% we were improving our pools. The kids' fancy furniture business went up. The store got closed. I learned that from our CPA because, so they were well-off Americans and there were other Americans struggling to pay rent.
Right.
I listened to a podcast of this security guard in New York who got laid off, who told his wife and daughter that food we can find at our church soup kitchen, make sure we pay the rent. So the stress, if I was a bus driver, I could not work online.
Right. Right, exactly.
So it was a humbling learning for me. Pandemic was the biggest teacher. And we cannot force online education. So to me, the reason I was telling you about some of these teachers with voice, I stand up. To me, the teacher's respect I learned in Pakistan. After your parents were, man, teacher. And we have stopped valuing teachers in our society.
Right.
Whether it's public or private, I don't care.
Right.
So a human being, so for a teacher is a human taking interest in a young person as they are developing.
Yeah.
And unless we make that value, so one of my crazy ideas, Curt, is in maybe 2-3, I'll start an online mentoring network, connecting. There are millions of kids right here in this town, in LA, who have no role models like I had, like you had. So I want to ask my retired friends who are retiring. I said, I want a couple of hours of your time. You sit in your comfortable Newport Beach house, mentoring a kid in Chicago. It doesn't matter. Not teaching them about math or science, but that you care.
Right. Yeah.
Loneliness and these things is a huge issue. And the technology is, and I said initially the teacher, mentor, mentee would be totally anonymous because there's all kind of things to happen.
Yeah.
But having every week you saying, hey, somebody cares for you, wants to listen.
Exactly. No, that's
so that is one life education.
Yeah.
Life's journey.
Well, and that's what's fascinating with you. You see so many facets of life and want to share those perspectives.
I just feel very, very lucky. And as I was telling your young colleagues, that my mother passed away 4 years ago. I'm living longer than my father. So every day is a blessing. And everything in my head, my heart, my pocket will be taken away. I need to pass it on.
Right. That's exactly right. What is the kind of in a whole societal perspective? I mean, what are some of those values that really do need to be passed on now? I mean, I don't know who crafts the values other than the values of the past, but those values of the past sometimes are discarded because they don't reflect really what's happening in the future. And I don't mean changing values, but taking those traditional values and making sure people see how they apply today.
Excellent question. So let me step back, because people, even this week, write a book. I said, write a book for what? Legacy. I say, I don't believe in legacy. That is the biggest human ego, male ego. But I said, if you look at it, who do we remember after 1,000? We remember Jesus, we remember Moses, we remember these are Prophet Muhammad. These are the people who came to, not to make more money. They came to improve their society.
Right.
So that to me is the thing, is that we are all connected. And then go back to the team sport that, as I mentioned to you, so I believe if you look at the people who don't believe in this thing, I said, how do you create moral distincts? There is a moral basis for every society.
Yeah.
And
well, there has to be.
Yeah, and because science is only meritocracy.
Yeah, right.
So this safety net, whatever you call it, the churches, the mosques, the synagogues, the temples, they are there. So I look at it, there's lessons for me. So we remember those people 2,000, 5,000 years ago.
Right. Exactly.
Nobody remembers Churchill or Alexander, To me, Alexander did more damage than good.
Yes.
So why do we call him Alexander the Great? I do not know why.
Well, maybe of an ego.
Yeah.
Maybe his as opposed to ours.
But on the same example, in this country that I love, my focus is African Americans because I love President Abraham Lincoln, what he did. And the unfinished business is that. And families are broken, so I spend time because I told my family that if I died, if there is a creator, and he asked me, Safi, you benefited so much from America. I say, I don't have a single African American friend because it's an economic thing. I say, I'll be standing naked in front of the creator. So we need to do the long road, education.
Right. Exactly.
So there is a small group in Las Vegas that I go visit. They're the poorest of the poor.
Yeah.
And I take all my books and everything. And that to me is really the thing, the values that a society creates. How do you take care of your older people?
Right.
Multi-generational living in America has been going down. Guess which group has the most? In Hawaii. So I see America developed so fast, became nuclear families. And we realize that we are all connected. And how do we create space so your parent may not want to live in the same house, but you should be able to walk to see your grandkids.
Yeah.
We have created such this, and this country is so big. And now we are realizing the loss.
Exactly.
So during COVID, Anita and I go see a personal therapist. My son has said, if you're well off, you should have a personal trainer and personal therapist. As somebody who has no horse in the race.
Yeah.
So our therapist, this lady, her whole family was on the East Coast. She was from the South. So she says, Safi, my husband and I are going to sell our thing in California, move back to... I says, Linda, Dr. Price, you're doing the right thing. We'll find another therapist, but you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. And the right thing is everybody has to make that decision what their right thing is. Right?
And to find that thing is.
Yeah.
So I'm not proposing any one kind of thing, but we are connected. We are a social thing.
Yeah.
And how do we...
I like that.
So the biggest thing is being awareness. So if you look at Sufis, they would think being aware. I need to be aware where I am.
Yeah.
Which community I happen to be in.
See, so this little chat, every time I'm with you, evolves into a discussion, a philosophical discussion. And I think people who may have started listening in hear this electrical engineer, computer scientist, computer genius inventing systems, who really the focus of your attention is the bigger philosophy on how to live a good life. So I really appreciate you sharing your perspective and also being a friend.
I am delighted to
Thanks
be
for
here.
being here.
This has been a great place, and the best for America is ahead, not behind.
Exactly.
So I disagree with some of my fellow who think, no, America has amazing capacity to evolve.
Yes.
Failure is more accepted here than in any other society, in China or Japan. So that's what I'm very optimistic. I want to share that with my fellow citizens.
Yes, and that's a good note to end on. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and this time flew by so fast.
Yes, glad you were with us.
Thank you.